Hello everyone, Python uses identifier just like any other programming language. Now what are identifiers? In a nutshell, an identifier is name given to a variable, function name, class name, objects or modules. We are going to use identifiers in many places in our code. But before we declare and use any identifier, such as variable, we need to know some rules of declaring identifier names. An identifier can start with capital and small English alphabets or underscore. Python identifiers can contain some numbers but cannot start with any number. Now let's see some example of Python identifiers. So let us see some examples, but before that let us open our code editor, which is Visual Studio Code, and in here you have to create file. So right click on your explorer and create a new file. Name your file something as id.py. Now we can see some examples. So let's take a simple example which are valid. So a simple keyword like person. Underscore data can also be a valid variable. Student name with capital N, days with capital D, and another one days with small d. So these are some valid examples. Now let us see some invalid examples or the variable names that you can't use. Let's type something like those. So 5day, for example, 7x, temp and percent, first hyphen name. So all the examples you can see from line 10 to line 13, those examples are invalid variable names or invalid identifiers. Basically you can't use this. So basically you have to follow the rules. Number one, you should use capital and small letters only. You can use number but not in start. You can start a variable with alphabets and underscore only. So these are some rules that you should follow. Now let us see a simple program that we can do. Now let's delete these all things and open Python shell. To open a Python shell in Visual Studio Code, you can just simply use integrated terminal. So you can press Ctrl and tilde key, which is just below the escape key, or you can just click on the terminal up here and click on new terminal. So these are the steps you can do to open a terminal in Visual Studio Code. Now access Python shell by typing Python. Now in here we'll use some variable names. So let's just take an example of A is equal to 5 and B is equal to 10. Now if we type A and press enter, you can see that it gave us output as 5. So A contains value of 5. You can also type B and see its value. It is 10. Now if you want to add those numbers, you can press A plus B. After pressing enter, you can see its addition. So 5 plus 10 is 15. And you can also store this addition in another variable. So now type C is equal to A plus B. So what you are doing here is storing the addition of A and B in variable C. So if you type C and press enter, you can see the addition. You can also reassign value of any variable. So you can just say A is equal to hello. Keep in mind that you have to write string in double quote. And now B is equal to world. Oops, I made a mistake. I have to assign world to B, not A. So let us assign hello to A again, and now we'll assign B is equal to world in double quotes. So now if you want to print A and B, you can print that, but let us print A first. So type print and in brackets you have to type A. So now what it will do is it will print whatever value stored in A. So here we go. Now if you want to print hello world, we can just print A plus B. And here is our output. Now you can close your terminal and let's type some code. So we'll just simply make a simple program which will do addition of two numbers which will input from our user. So we will use a variable called A, and inside input function you can type in double quotes whatever text that you want to prompt user to, and inside double quotes you can type whatever text you want to show to the user. In this case we are going to type hey, enter a number. Now let's copy the same line and we'll save the same thing in variable B. So now B is equal to input from user, which will ask user that hey, enter another number. Now what we can do is take these two numbers from the user which are stored in A and B and add them and store it in variable C. So we'll type C is equal to A plus B. Now we'll use another print function and show user that addition is, and we'll use another print function to output the value of C. And now basically we are done typing our program. So we can just save the file by pressing Ctrl S and open our terminal by pressing Ctrl and tilde key. And here you can type your command Python and name of the file to execute it. And after pressing enter, you can see it is asking for a number. So we'll enter number 1 and number 2. And here it is giving us some output. You can see the addition of 8 and 3 is not 83. It is just simply adding two strings and joining it together. Basically this is concatenation of two strings. We don't want to do this. So closing the terminal and you can see. So now what you have to do is add a and b in integer function. So we'll type integer, and then in its brackets we'll type a, and then again we'll type integer, and in its brackets we'll pass b as the argument. So what it will do is take integer from a and b and add them and then store it in C. So in order to convert our string variables into integers, you can just use integer function or int function. So you can type int, and in its brackets you have to pass a and b as argument. So we'll type a. So this is one variable, and now we'll again convert b. So we'll type integer, and in its brackets we'll use b. So now we are done again. Let's just save the file and open our terminal, typing python and name of a file again and execute. Enter your numbers, and here it is. 8 plus 4 is 12. So that is it. So now we've seen some identifiers, or basically some variables. There are other identifiers like function name, class name. We'll use those all in upcoming sections, but for now we are stopping here, and thanks everyone. I will see you in the next lecture.